Mary Ann, you want to take the roll, please?
Mr. Goodchin,
Here.
Mr. Osgood, Dr. King, Mr. Moon,
Here.
Mr. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Welch,
Here.
Mr. Cindy.
Here. Okay, FOIA request, we have none at this time. We have established the quorum, I'm sorry, so FOIA request, we have none at this time. Tim, you want to talk about your budget report?
Okay, you have in your packet the monthly report. The total revenue for the month for the operating funds was $733,000. And the monthly revenue for all funds was $741,000. And I highlighted the items that make up that amount. One of the things that I kind of like to bring your attention is part of that includes revenue in the IMRF fund of $125,000. That's a transfer from working cash. It's also an expenditure on the in the expenditure numbers for the month, in that it's an expenditure in working cash. It's a revenue in the IMRF fund, so it's kind of a wash there. Other than that, some of the more significant items: student fees, about $112,000, special ed reimbursements, $93,000, and then on down the list of the items that were included in that. For the first 3 months, $2,084,000 in the operating funds and $2,152,000 for all funds. There's about 9% and 7% respectively of our budget. That would be fairly normal. I think you're going to see those percentage numbers jump up quite a bit in the next couple of months when we start to receive the tax revenue. Couple of questions and I also wanted to highlight the building revenue. The building rental revenue for the first 3 months, almost $13,000, which is about 50% of our budget for the year. Last year in the first quarter, the rental revenue was $720. So obviously the facility usage procedures are generating significantly more revenue than what we've had before.
Any questions for Tim?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, Tim.
Okay.
Did you
Yeah.
get the email?
Yeah, I
sent
did.
to
I was
Kevin?
gonna- yeah.
Do you want to just address them, or do you want me to read them again?
On the revenue side, the interest, there's numbers budgeted in each of the funds, and there's very little, as you noted, actual revenue that we've received. The reason is that the Treasurer's Office distributes the interest income in the month of March. They do it for the previous 12 months. They only do it once a year.
Okay.
So you're not going to see really anything in that fund, in those accounts, until probably in March, and then we'll see some pretty significant numbers. The textbook rental revenue is $380,000. The budget was $230,000. That's because when we do the registration, we take all the registration money, because at the time there's just so much going on. They take all of it and they plug it into the textbook rental. That's going to come out this month. It'll come out and go into different accounts to cover science and technology and those types of things. So that 380 will drop down. We're not going to end up being $150,000 over budget, unfortunately.
Thank you.
The other local revenue that's in the operating fund was $5,500. You noted that there was no budget. I looked back through last year. We had about $9,000 in income in that account. It came from the cell tower rentals.
Okay.
Why that wasn't budgeted, I don't know.
That's mostly what I wanted to know, what it was from.
Yeah. And on the expenditures, I was talking to Gary before the meeting. There were a lot of timesheets that went through during the summer and that were charged off to that summer school account. And I've gone through that with Betty in the main office. She's coming in right at budget. So there's a number of items that were charged to that account that shouldn't have been.
Okay.
So that'll be reallocated by the end of October. We'll have that pushed over into the accounts where it belongs. Legal services, we've had about $7,300 in legal fees, that are related to the Paroico lawsuit. I'm going to have to take that number, send copies of the bills, and bill that to the insurance.
Do you know, will they pay on a periodic basis, or are they going to make you wait, do you know?
My
guys-
dealings with insurance co-ops in the past, they usually pay pretty quickly.
Okay.
Usually once you-
And we, just let you know, is the first 10,000 we had to pay up front, and then
Right.
after that, the insurance took kick over.
Okay.
So that is.
So actually, at this point, we haven't gone past the 10.
Yeah, so.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it.
Anything else?
Tim, are you going to comment on the response that Elizabeth Hennessy gave us? I think that was John's question last meeting about retiring these bonds for a more favorable issue.
It's on the,
It's the last attachment
Yeah.
in your budget here.
What
What
she's,
I don't know much about it, but she said that when it gets closer to the call date, that would be the more appropriate time to retire these. And the negative arbitrage would reach 0 or something close to that. What would be the trigger in this?
I think it's the time that you have left before the call date. So at this point,
Yeah.
we've got 4 years and I think,
Yeah.
what is it?
15 and
6
17.
years before the call dates. So that the timeframe is so long, and we have to take that money and we have to put it into an escrow account. And I think just as it gets closer, you're still gonna have a penalty, but it's gonna probably be significantly smaller, and would, at that point, would be worth it to refinance. But at this point, the penalties would be larger than that.
I'd like to also note for the
Thank you.
record, Tim, great job on your commentary on the tax anticipation warrants, that we will probably not have to do tax anticipation warrants. What do we have in the budget, do you remember, for interest to pay on that, or?
15,000, I couldn't say,
Yeah.
approximately.
All right. I think great job, and also great job of managing the bills, especially when you know that the tax payments are gonna come a little bit later that month, so have people hold back bills. Very good job on that. Very much way to stay ahead of the game. Any other questions for Tim? All right, seeing none, we're going to move to the monthly budget, visitor statement, so we're gonna start over here first. Anybody wanna speak over here? Anybody wanna speak over here? Seeing none, we'll be moving ahead. We're moving to the consent agenda now. And Mary Ann, you handed out to us, what did you hand out to us? Does any of it involve the minutes? Yes, they do.
Yes.
Yeah, the special meetings, regulars.
You want to tell us about this, Mary, the minutes side?
I made some corrections and then I worked with Mr. Walsh and I inserted all his corrections.
Okay, so these are the minutes that have been corrected for review for feedback from the board members?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and then on bills,
There were some general questions.
Some questions?
Yeah.
on bills, let's talk about bills. Mary Ann, just show for the record that John King and Laura Ruska are now at the meeting. Okay, so the questions on the bills,
Okay.
Tim, do you want to answer? Get ready.
Yeah, one of the questions was about digital benefit advisors. They're the brokers we use. That's Jerry Schultz, his company, which it used to be called Employee by Design or something like that. They've changed their name. This is their quarterly consulting fee. They act as our brokers and they get paid a consulting fee. It's outside of what we pay to Blue Cross. A lot of times when you have a broker, it's included with what you're paying to Blue Cross, but this is outside of it.
They're a benefit broker.
Yes. Riverside, Brookfield, there was a question of why we're paying the district for an oil change. That was an oil change that was done on a truck. We pay that money out and it goes to the auto shop and it goes into their activity account and it pays for the oil and the oil filters and that type of thing.
Okay.
Waste management, that is the porta potties over at the football field. They have to be cleaned out.
So we pay, even though we rent them, we pay to clean them too? That's what I would really ask. Doesn't it
Yeah.
cost part of the rent?
I don't know what the rental, I'd have to see.
In
if
my
I can find a
experience
rental
at
agreement.
Triton, when we've done that, you have to, they're cleaning it out, and you have to pay for that service.
Oh, okay.
Because they have to suck it out and then wash it out.
Okay.
There were also some questions about some of the bills that we had for repair and maintenance of the kitchen equipment. And I looked at the agreement that we have with Quest. All of the kitchen equipment is our equipment, and we're responsible for all of the repairs.
Okay.
So that was repairs for that. Jack's Rental, We rented a trencher, and that was to do the trenching in the front of the building, where they had to lay some new electrical for the lights out there. Laidlaw, there was a question about the $11.15. We received a bill from Laidlaw for $300.96. It was transportation of 2 students for each sport to Iron Oaks, which is in Tinley Park, to go to a team building workshop. And so they wanted to take that $300 bill and allocate it to each sport, so that's why it's broken down that way.
Okay.
The Village of Brookfield, that's the intergovernmental agreement. We pay for 103 parking spots. We pay $50 for the summer and $85 for the school year. But we also recoup money from the students who, for the most part, park there. We charge them, so it pretty much is it's, washes, so we really don't have much of an expense. And then there was a question regarding LADSI. That's the special ed co-op that we use. We have a psychologist on staff that is not our employee. It's an employee of LADSI. We have 1.5 speech pathologists on staff that are not our employees, and then partial occupational therapist and partial physical therapist. And this is the bill for those people that we get from LADSI.
Is that for the whole year we paid up front or something?
That's for the whole year.
Oh, okay.
And if we had to pay for these people on our salary schedule, it'd be significantly more than that.
No, I just wanted, so we
Yeah.
wouldn't see another big bill from LADSI
No.
for that kind of stuff?
No.
Okay.
Any questions, any other questions on the bills?
Speaking of LADSI, somebody did ask a question regarding a sub-grant, and we were notified last week, and I think you received that in your weekly update, that we are going to get an additional $45,000 this year from LADSI. That's in some additional carryover monies that they had in their accounts from IDEA flow-through monies. Remember, our IDEA money from the federal government goes automatically through our co-op. And they're trying, since the majority of their services directly benefit more at the K through 8 level than they do through the high school level. This was in good faith on the Board of Control to try to get some services back to the high school districts. Now, remember what Gail talked to us about the MO money, and I don't want to get too into, but you have to make sure you stay at certain levels and you can't dip below levels. So they could only give us dollars for new expenses, not expenses that we were already incurring last year. So those were the 2 one-on-one aides that we had to hire with the 8th graders this year. So, I mean, at least it was cost neutral for this year. A good majority of it was cost neutral for this year. And that probably won't be there next year, but it's a good thing to get up front.
All right, do I have a motion, somebody make a motion on the minutes and the payment of bills?
Resolved that the Board of Education, Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois hereby takes the following action on the listed consent agenda items. A, approves minutes for the meetings held on September 9th, September 10th, September 13th, and September 27th, 2011, both open and closed. Approves payment of bills as presented and listed in the section Roman numeral VI.B.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tim Walsh.
And then these are the green minutes where appropriate are the ones we're approving, and the board packet for the rest.
Okay, any other discussion?
And they're substantially the same, right? They're substantially the same as the board packet that you received on Friday.
Okay.
These are not minutes that were previously closed,
Look-
right? These
look
are
inside
just
your pack.
amended.
Look
Yeah, no,
ins-
those are just from the September meeting, Laura.
So
Those are
go
minutes.
through 4 pages on your green packet, that's the minutes.
I think her question was if those were the closed minutes
No.
that were
No,
released.
no,
That's
we're not doing-
That's not that.
These were from our last 4 meetings in September. Some of them were modified slightly, so they're in the green walk-in package.
Oh, these are the modifications from that big packet of minutes that we had in
Yes.
our,
Yes.
in our agenda.
Could we, did somebody second these? Did we find
Yeah,
out if we
we
can?
had a second.
We can send these things out in Word. The reason you got them today, I tried to edit them in PDF, and when I emailed them to Mary Ann, it cleaned off my comments. So she had to call me this afternoon, and I had to take time from work to read the changes to her and email something to her. So did we find, is there
Do you have
some
them
reason
in
we
Word?
can't get Word?
Do you have it in Word? Then send it out to Word, in Word.
I thought we previously said we would send them to you like that.
Yeah.
We previously said that we would find out from the attorney. We haven't heard back.
She has to keep the originals and make sure that,
I could teach her how to compare them to make sure nobody makes a change, tries to
Right.
trick her if you want.
You can do that, okay? So, because we don't want you being tricked. Okay.
I think the thing Todd just said is make sure that you keep them in a separate, so that after, if in the event that 7 board members send 7 sets of changes in a Word document, something doesn't get saved as the original.
Right.
So it's just a matter of trying to keep order, but we can send them in Word if that would make it easier.
Thank you.
All right, we've had a motion, a second, and discussion. Marianne, you want to go for the vote?
Mr. Goodson?
Yes.
Mr. Westphal?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Aye.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Cindy?
Hold on, let's forget.
Yes.